Should be going live in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
That's it. We're live. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can I? Right. I'll introduce everyone that will be involved this afternoon. So we have the panel is myself, Cllr Richard Foote, Chair of Licensing. Second with Councillor Bandana Chopra, and finally with Councillor Gabriella Giles. So we make up the panel and we will be making the decisions at the end of the day. We have officers present who will be guiding us, but the decisions are the councillors. The officers present, the licensing officer, Rita Pancania, and the legal officer, Baljeet Verdi. And then we've got on tech, I know we did have Adrian. We still got you, Adrian.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. Is it Ian Chamberlain as well?
It's Sadiq.
Oh, it's Sadiq. Okay. I was told it was going to be Ian Chamberlain. Okay. Sadiq. Okay. Anyway. Thank you, Sadiq, for coming along. Right, and so representing the applicants, we've got Jasmine Marty-Hill, Neil Levine and Becky Thorpe. Yeah.
Just no Jasmine Hill, just Neil Levine and Becky Thorpe.
Right, you did say that earlier, yeah. Okay, right. One other thing from the order, I'm with this particular type of item, I think it works well if we take the applicant first rather than any other persons who might be objectors or otherwise, but I think it just works better with the applicant. I don't know how much time you want, but if I say for the moment, if we allocate 15 minutes to yourself, and obviously that would go to the other similar period of time to the other persons, but so will you be able to get your presentation in that time?
Yes, I need very little time. Thank you. I think.
Okay. Right. Okay then. So I'm going to now go to Rita to read out the particulars of the application.
Okay. Members are requested to determine an application for the grant of a temporary event notice in respect of Drive and Dine Zion Park, Brentley, Brentford. The recommendations are to grant the application in full, to grant the application as above or modified to such an extent as considered appropriate to satisfy any relevant representations and promote the licensing objectives, or to reject the application and issue a counter notice. A temporary event notice has been applied for the sale of alcohol on and off the premises Tuesday 28th of July to the 2nd of August 2020 from 9 AM to 23:15, and regulated entertainment for the same dates 28th of July to the 2nd of August from 9 o'clock to 2300 hours. The application has been made appropriately and all procedures followed. There has been representations from the environmental health teams, pollution and health and safety, which have not been resolved. That's it for me. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Rita. Can I ask the applicants, are you in agreement with the circumstances that have been outlined by the officer?
Yes, although I'll wait the appropriate moment to give my opinion on one of the representations. But
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, I'm just saying if you're okay with the scenario laid out by the license.
Correct. Yeah,
so,
perfectly fine. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, right. Then if we can, what we would do, as I said, we've reversed the order between the applicant and the other persons. So I'm going to go to the applicant now and ask them to make their presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I'm grateful for everyone taking the time to listen to the application. I'm sorry it's come to a hearing. We are an events company of over 20 years of experience, brand events. We've been running, well, we normally run in normal years, like an awful lot of people, normal business. We run much larger events such as Car Fest and Pub in the Park with attendances of 40 to 50,000 people or 5,000 people. So, but like a lot of businesses out there, we've been forced to change our plans for this summer and have not been able to run any of our events, and are looking at a very precarious situation as a business. Good proportion of our staff are currently on furlough, and we're trying to make all efforts to continue to get the business, keep the business going, and bring some of those staff back to work as quickly as possible. So as the crisis evolved, we developed from our Pub in the Park portfolio the idea of creating a drive-in movie presented by Pub in the Park brand, so a high quality drive-in experience. The difference being that alongside watching a movie, you would also get the opportunity to have good food served from Tom Kerridge and his catering outfit. We have 10 venues lined up in the tour. As I said earlier, we've just had a successful week in Luton Hugh, just north of St Albans, and in Bath in Somerset. We have an event building today in Marlow to open tomorrow, and an event building in Tunbridge Wells to open tomorrow, and we're running for a second week in St Albans. We look forward to running events again in Chichester, in Warwick, in Syon Park, in Selhurst Park, and in another venue down in Tunbridge Wells, and we hope to add further events to the calendar. The events are operated under temporary events notice because they are only of small nature. We've obviously had to react very quickly in the circumstances to get the events up and running, and I think it's fair to say that that's what the temporary events notice legislation and regulations are there for, to allow for small events to be given permission in a short time frame to happen, and in relation to the impact of them. Our events consist of a screening of a movie to no more than 450 people, which works out at approximately 180 to 210 cars, depending on the makeup of the audience. So for the family matinees, it tends to be less cars because there tends to be 4 or 5 people in the car. For the evening performances, it might be less people in the car, so you might be up to about 210, 220 cars. Glad to say we've run 2 very successful events last week with no issues. People arrive, our staff check registration numbers against the list, make sure the number of people in the car match. They're then directed to parking bays that are all laid out. They then collect their sanitized speakers or headsets from a crate next to their bay. And they can then proceed to listen to the intro music, safety videos, and then the film. If they've ordered food, their registration number is logged into the kitchen, and the food that they've ordered is then delivered by our staff and placed on a crate next to their car, so they can then get out of the car, pick up the food, and then eat the food in their car. Guests are required to stay in their car throughout the performance, apart from obviously if they need to get out to get their speakers, headsets, or food, or if they need to go to the toilet, in which case we ask people to put their hazard lights on, and one of our staff will go to the car, advise them if the toilets are available, and then direct them there. We've got sort of double the amount of toilets you'd expect for the sort of number of people we have on site. Every toilet is cleaned after every use, and with the volume that we had last week, I can happily report that there was no queuing for any of the toilets, and everyone was able to get into a freshly sanitized toilet within, within moments of arriving at wherever the toilets are. So you can imagine drive-in cinemas there's nothing like the demand for toilets as you might have at a concert. If people want to order drinks on arrival, they use an app. They've been given a bay number. When they get parked up, they get told what their bay number is. They can then order food and order drinks, which are then delivered and put on their crate. At the end of the movie, everyone is asked to put their speakers or headsets and rubbish on the crate next to them, and then our marshals direct the traffic away from the venue, starting with the first row. So we have control over the flow, and I say, generally speaking, everyone was very, very compliant in the 2 venues that we ran here. They really haven't got the choice, to be honest, with the way that the cars are parked, and we put staff within the area that cars are parked anyway. Just anyone who's a little eager and wants to try and jump out, we just put a stop to that. So we have full control over the exiting of the vehicles, and then people leave, and that's the visitor experience. On Tuesday, Wednesday of the first week, there's just the 1 viewing. I think there's 2 on the Thursday, 3 on the Friday, and then 4 on Saturday and Sunday. We advise all our visitors to arrive between 45 minutes to an hour before the screening, depending on which day they are coming. And generally speaking, that's what people are doing. Although obviously a lot of people like to leave it late, that sort of helps us anyway. We can load what is only 200 cars in probably about no more than 30 minutes to load anyway. So it's quite a simple process, as you'd imagine. We have a very large field available to us at Scion Park, and the access into that field is very easy. And then we have a second exit out of that field, so as I say, we can control the exit out. Stephen Maunders, who I've spoken to, not had the opportunity to meet, raised some concerns over the issue that we might experience at the end of Park Road and Twickenham Road. We've discussed a plan whereby we put a traffic marshal at the end of that road who can observe the any build-up of traffic on the exiting of our vehicles. And we've agreed that if we allow 50 vehicles out in the first instance, we hold the remaining 150. And then the traffic marshal at the end of Park Road can advise us when those vehicles have exited safely onto Twickenham Road, and then we will release another 50. It's our view that would take no longer than 20 to 30 minutes, but we're not going to release 200 cars all at the same time, which could then maybe cause slight problems on Park Road. Stephen also raised the concern over whether there was any cumulative impact of sound. Just so everyone is clear, the sound is played into speakers or headsets that are inside the car. So people will pick up a small Bluetooth speaker or silent disco headphones, which are set at a maximum noise level for a comfortable experience. So if you're in your car, it's not blasting your head out. We've supplied some of the information to Stephen. We've been trying to get the exact make of the Bluetooth speaker from the supplier, but they're actually made to order in China because they own about 5,000 of these, so they're not manufactured for anyone else. But I've supplied him with the specifications of one similar. But what I can assure the panel is that you can be walking around the car park where the cars are parked, and it's very, very difficult to hear any of the sound that is played through those speakers or headsets if you're walking around where the cars are parked. So there is no risk whatsoever to a noise issue on the boundary of Scion Park or to residents from the sound levels played through those speakers. We've also agreed that we will communicate, as Scion Park normally does anyway, and with assistance from Becky, a letter which will go out to all the local residents, advising them of what we're doing in advance of the event, advising them of the key arrival and departure times to each of the screenings, so that if they wish to avoid that road at that period of time, because it might be busier than it would be during the day, then they're advised of that. But would like it noted that Scion Park at the moment, as Becky can provide more information if you wish, is obviously not operating anything like it would normally do. There is no operating garden centre, there's no operating hotel, there is no operating play centre, and the house is still not open. So a venue that is used to seeing anything from 500 to 1,000 vehicles coming and going throughout its normal operation isn't seeing that. So our 200 cars is probably the most vehicles that would be coming and going at any one time during the day. So we're very comfortable that the impact on the road and on the surrounding areas will be minimal. But we hope an awful lot of the local residents will be pleased and grateful for the opportunity to come and see an outdoor cinema and hopefully enjoy some good food in front of the screen. Now, there was a representation made.
Can I pick up, because you're just coming to the end of your 15 minutes, but if you've got comments to make about the representations, when they've made those representations, then you will have either the opportunity to ask questions of the person making them, or if those persons are not there, then it'll be either myself or one of the officers.
I understand. Okay. Well, in which case, I think I've summarised what we're doing. I've certainly addressed I think I've addressed the questions, or that hopefully Stephen will, input as well. But I think we've got to a sensible position there as to what we're doing. I'm happily conclude there, Chair, and await any questions.
Okay, right. The order in which I'm going to take this, so as we're not talking over each other, is that first of all, it would be the councillors asking questions. So I take Bandana as the first question, then Gabriella, and then I'll come in the tail end. So that would be the order for any of the councillors' questions this evening. So Bandana.
Okay, so I have a load of questions, but which I had prepared after reading the brief. Thank you very much for your brief today as well. I did actually go there on the weekend to actually study the area and to see what's what in Zion Park, because I know the garden centre has closed because I used to use it quite a lot. But I took the opportunity to go and look at the parking and look at the road. You say what concerns me is quite a few things, actually. The first thing is that Zion Park is now open. The house is open. The garden centre is open. The gardens are open, and the hotel is open and fully functioning, because there were people coming in and out. I even took the liberty to go up to the front desk of the hotel and say, "Are you open now?" And she said, "Yes, we've been open for a week." So unfortunately, so that's not correct. And you said there's a separate exit. Where is the separate exit? Because I only saw one entrance and one exit. It was the same entrance and exit. They haven't got any other exit. So that's the second thing. And that road is very, very tiny. It's single vehicle progress to most of it. And when I was coming back, I was having problems almost colliding in other vehicles. And I'm a bit concerned that you say 200 vehicles and maybe even 400 vehicles when it's during the daytime, and it's just a lot of traffic and a lot of vehicles, which I think on a single stretch road is very, very dangerous. And what have you done to manage that?
Right, thank you, Mandela. Yes. Yeah, Neil, yeah, you can answer that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think Becky probably best to clarify what's open and closed and the impact and what sort of volumes she's noticing or not noticing at the park, because obviously I'm not at Zion Park, and she'd be best advised on that, whether the hotel is open and receiving number of guests or not. I don't know, and what her I believe, but again, Becky's probably best. I believe they've got a very limited capacity into the house, into the gardens. I wasn't aware that the house had just reopened, so again, that may be something we could ask Becky to clarify in a moment. With regards to the exits, we have an in and an out into that field, so we will be bringing the cars in at one entry point and exiting them at another. So they'll go past the area that they're parking, come in at the top, park, and then go out and exit, so that they're facing the right direction for the exit.
Okay, is Becky
There
there?
is only one exit.
Yeah, I think let's.
Sorry, yeah, there is one. There were only one exit, so we can, like I said, we have staff that hold and control the flow of vehicles out of the field. So it's not the movie ends and everyone leaves. So we will control the flow of the vehicles out onto the road that exits out onto Park Road.
Right, is Becky able to come in and answer the questions that Neil mentioned? Can you hear me, Becky? You'll need, is it? I've forgotten what it is.
Star 6.
*6, yeah. No. She is. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Becky.
Yes, we can hear you, Becky. Did you? I
Hooray!
think you were referred. You were referred a question from your colleague.
Yes. So Zion, the gardens around Zion House have been open for 3 weeks from Wednesday through Sunday, and we're allowing 30 people in an hour to the gardens. The house isn't open, and I think it's unlikely that we'll be able to open it this season, sadly, because of conservation and cleaning. The garden centre isn't open, but we have, thank the Lord, been able to open a very small cafe called Birdie's Cafe in what was the till area of the gardens, which is open from 8:30 till 5:30 every day. The hotel has been open in, I think, 10% of its capacity since last Saturday, but they haven't been able to unfurlough many of the staff. They have been able to take advantage of football teams and things being able to play away, and they're trying to encourage some tourism business, but it's extremely minimal. Buttercup's Day Nursery is open, Snakes and Ladders isn't open, Garden Centre isn't open, we're not running weddings and events, and the Walk Garden Marquee, which normally has 600 people coming to parties, is not open. Was that all of the questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah. And was that okay with your questions?
When I was there on the weekend, there was a very large event going on. I don't know what it was. I'm not sure that it was a wedding or anything of like that, but it looked like I don't know, a party or a big
in the hotel or in the park?
In the hotel.
Oh, right.
And as a result, there were quite a large number of cars coming in when I was there. And it was only yesterday, in fact. There's a lot of people coming in through the main gates and walking, and also coming in through cars.
There is a pedestrian right of way that runs right through the parks, and I think people have been enjoying. Locals have been enjoying the verges. The hotel certainly isn't offering any events or weddings. We're not legally allowed to at the moment.
Okay, I beg your pardon, but that party,
right.
that party I saw was at the hotel.
Okay.
The hundreds of cars that were arriving were going to the car park and going to the hotel, and people were walking in to the hotel using that the main entrance plus also the side entrance, which has got a stairwell and a canopy. There's a canopy with a stairwell.
That will be that's not the hotel. That will be Zion Lounge, which is a sushi and shisha bar that runs for the evening, I think, through till 4 in the morning. But they have about they share the section of the car park that we allow the hotel to use, which has a capacity of maximum 70 cars.
Okay, I don't know whether it's called sushi or whatever. All I know is it's attached to the hotel, and it's just at the top of the hotel, and there was at least 100 cars there when I was there.
Okay.
But Becky, is it not fair to say that the venue copes with anything between 500 to 1,000 cars under just normal regular?
Yeah.
I appreciate what Councillor is saying, but it is a venue that is used to far greater numbers. It had a head office of a garden centre. It had a garden centre. It had, so I think it's more than capable of coping with an additional 200 cars. Without, it is a tricky road. We can't get away from that.
Hey,
but
right, stick to a question.
Yeah.
Right.
In normal times, we'd have the sushi lounge, which Councillor may have noticed. We'd have the Cllr Spa open, which is not functioning. The maximum capacity of the hotel is 137 bedrooms, and I think they have a ballroom for 400. That certainly isn't functioning. I normally host weddings and events for up to 160 in the Great Conservatory in the house, and we normally have the walled garden marquee, which has planning permission for 200 to 600 people from May to September, plus a garden centre. And Neil's right, we used to have the head office for the Wyville chain, which was 200 people in the centre there, plus Snakes and Ladders, which is incredibly busy normally, but not currently at the moment. So it's a minuscule amount of cars to what we normally have to contend with, I'm afraid, sadly. Does that help? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that may be the case when you're normally operating. We're in different circumstances at the moment, and you just said you're not operating, and I told you that I saw they were. The hotel was operating, the gardens were operating, the side, whatever you call it, shisha lounge or whatever. There was hundreds of people going to that. There was some kind of, I don't know what it was. I don't like to say rave, but it was a party, definitely.
I think when we put in the application,
there were very young people between sort of 20 and I'd say 20 to 30-year-old kind of people.
Sounds like it might be the sushi and shisha lounge has reopened to one side of the hotel, separate sort of a subtenant of the hotel, I think. But certainly when we put in this application, it wasn't. And we've luckily been able to open the gardens 5 days a week now. I know because I'm there on a Saturday cleaning the loos and, you know, litter picking and front of house at the visitor centre. I have to say we were trying to find socially distanced events that would work for the local community, were safe for everybody, give everybody a chance to come out and enjoy themselves at a time when virtually all of the other businesses weren't operating. And out of a sort of plethora of, I think I got about 8 different proposals, I chose brand events because there wasn't a Hounslow based one, but they're based in Hammersmith. That was the nearest I could do.
Okay, so, but the point is, when these events run,
repeat yourself. If you could not repeat yourself, because we're now trying to move on. All right. Who
are you talking to?
To you, Bandana. I'm saying don't repeat yourself. You've
I'm
asked.
I'm going to add one more thing. I haven't said anything to repeat myself. I'm going to add something else. I haven't finished yet. What I was going to say is those other events, when they hold large events, they usually are managed with security. So that's my concern. That are you going to be putting in security and traffic management?
I can advise you on that. Yeah, we've spoken with the so Banjo, even though this has been done in a very short time frame in very difficult circumstances, we have been party to attending a safety advisory group meeting as any other event would. So we've submitted our plans and discussed those. We've been in liaison with police licensing and have agreed to put 5 SIA security staff on the site to their satisfaction. That's what they asked for, and that's what we've agreed. So we've got to a point where everybody is satisfied around those elements.
Right. Okay then, Bandana.
Okay for the moment.
Right. Councillor Giles, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. So I just to pick up on what my colleague was saying. So how many cars would normally access Zion House in pre-COVID time on an hourly basis, if you know? I think that's Becky and Neil, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm diving straight in.
Yeah. I don't know if we have any official figures on that, but I can tell you that the car park itself holds 480 spaces, and then we have the Lime Avenue, which could take 300 when the marquee's in operation. Yeah. And that usually supports all of the businesses. One of them big like Decorex, we've managed to put in the tented structure, and then there would be a car park for 500 on one side and 300 on the other side in the field that we're looking at.
Thank you, Becky. So that's, you know, as you said, a proportionally smaller number that are accessing. Yeah. I see on the site plan that you've put a capacity for 250 cars, but I've heard that there's a record of 200. So I'm just kind of unsure as to what actually your capacity is, or does that figure include service vehicles or vehicles for supporting the event?
I can just explain that. So as I said, we've set ourselves a ticketed capacity of 450 tickets, so that we're 50 below the requirement of the temporary events notice. We obviously, until tickets are sold, we don't know the makeup of cars As we've experienced last week, I think the largest number of cars we had when we were at capacity was actually 206. The reason you see 250 bays in there is that with the large cars that come in, we park them a row behind the small cars so that we can then bring the small cars in easily and park in front of them. So actually, we never actually filled the back rows, of course, but yeah, you'll find that there's the small cars, then there's a completely dead row, which will probably have about 25 to 30 car bays that aren't used, and then the big cars that will fill up the back. So whilst you'll see 250 bays, I said 206 was the most we had last week in 2 venues.
Fantastic. And what is your expectation of the number of people per car? Or what's
I said earlier, it depends greatly on the movie. The family movies that take place during the day, you tend to probably have 3 or 4 people in the car. An evening performance, you might end up with 2 or 4, depending if it's a couple or if a couple coming with friends.
Yeah, okay. Because I noticed in the maps you've kind of pieces in a car where people should and shouldn't sit type thing in the report. But obviously, if you're encouraging people who are from the same household to be in the same car, that kind of piece, and not encouraging people to break their bubbles at this time.
Absolutely. I mean, everything we're doing is with the, I mean, you've obviously seen the COVID risk assessments that we presented with our application, and our messaging. All our staff are required to fill in the health declarations. They're all temperature checked when they're on site. They all get their COVID-19 site inductions. They have cleansing stations which they can use regularly. Before and after every service, they get new PPE. And you know, so we're doing everything. It's a very, I mean, like I said, we've had a very, very positive response to this last week. People were glad to be getting out and doing something. They were very glad to see the staff in their PPE and that they didn't have to come into contact with anybody. It's all contactless. So yeah, I think we're very pleased with how it went.
Great, safer than going out for dinner. So are the cars engines off for the entire duration once they're parked?
Yes, correct. Yeah, and anybody who we go along to make sure anyone who's left their lights on, anything like that, we let them know, so we don't have too many flat batteries. But no, car engines are off.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about air quality, obviously. And then you mentioned your loading time is 30 minutes. What's the evacuation time expected to be? Like the egress time, sorry.
Well, if it was an emergency, we haven't obviously done an emergency, but every aisle has a. I mean, we're in the middle of a very big field, so the reality was the people would find a safe place to drive to if they needed to. But our egress times were between 10 to 15 minutes when we weren't considering where we didn't have to consider pulsing vehicles out. So it is quite a quick process. We do 1 row at a time, and there's anything from 12 to 18 cars in a row. So it can be done very quickly, but we, like I've just explained with Stephen, we can also control it very easily as well, because we have staff that can stand at the end of every aisle and just let 1 row go. And as we said, we think we will start by letting out 50 cars over a 10-minute period, which is quite a steady flow of cars. If you consider you can get anything up to a few hundred cars through a gateway if you wanted to in quite a hurry. So it'll be a very steady flow, which we've considered would minimise the impact on the road, Park Road. Our traffic marshal will monitor that. If we need to slow it down, we can slow it down. If we feel we can speed it up, we can speed it up. We'll have that ability to radio between our observers out on the road, seeing what the traffic is doing and not. Obviously, some of the evening sessions, there'll be very little traffic coming in at that time of night, so we might discover that vehicles can leave a bit quicker. During the day, we may well have to hold on to people a bit longer.
Fantastic. And then I've got one more question, Richard, if you'll permit me.
Yes, of course.
Hello.
Sorry,
I seem to have lost everyone there. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Neil. It may have been
Hello.
We can hear you, Leo. We can hear you.
It could be me.
No, I think it's Neil's end of the communication.
Okay. All right. Should we wait for him to come back? I think he's frozen a little bit. Hi, Neil.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I can hear you now. Thank you.
No, No, it's fine. So obviously this is an event where people will be in their cars consuming food and drink. What measures are in place to discourage drink driving?
Well, it's across our website. If you've had a look at our website, we obviously put that into a website. The Think, Drink and Drive messaging is across everything we do, but also the bar operator is limited to only serving one alcoholic drink to a car for a duration. So there's no chance of multiple orders and someone deciding to so they will only, and to be honest, last week their biggest sellers were the popcorn and the sort of normal drinks you'd get at cinema, the odd consumption of pints of beer, etc. But it was really very minimal. But the bar operator has that control over the amount of alcohol going to any one bay.
Fantastic. That's it from me, Richard. I'm sure I missed some other pieces, but take it away.
Okay, thanks, Gabriella. Right, I've got a couple of questions. Looking at the map, this one, can you see that one? Anyway, yeah, that's the one. It's really about vehicles entering the site. There was comment somewhere in the text in the papers, and I won't be able to find them in amongst those 170 pages that are there, but there is a comment that tickets will be checked as the cars come in. At what point will the tickets be checked? Is it when they come off Park Road, or is it when they get some way round the park?
When they actually get into 20 Acre Field, and also we have the Lime Avenue as backup. So if it starts to back up, we can take the people into the Lime Avenue. I don't know if I can't see the map, unfortunately, but you've got the 20 Acre Field, then you've got the Lime Avenue, and then you've got the helicopter field. There is actually 4 gates along there, but we're just choosing to use, I think, Gate 2 and Gate 4 with Lime Avenue as a backup. Sorry, just jump in there wrongly, Neil.
Neil's just dropped out at the moment due to connection, okay. I think.
Oh, gosh.
So when you say Lime Avenue, where is Lime Avenue?
Directly across from Zion House.
Is that the one that runs across the top? Because there's, I mean, when I look on
there's
Google Maps, you see quite a lot more than we're seeing here.
Yeah, so you would drive in up the main drive, and as you look to your left, you've got the very big field, which is the 20 Acre Field, and then there's a sort of the events. Yes, and then there's a sort of strip of trees and what look like called Lime Avenue, which is like a sort of an avenue which would take you up to the Trout Lake in olden times. Right. And then there's a helicopter field on the other side. But the key thing is to get those cars off the drive. Those at any other cars going backwards and forwards, which is minimal, don't get snarled up in a tangle of traffic.
So where will you be checking the tickets, or where will they be checking the tickets?
Into the 20 Acre Field, and if there seems to be, be not like the junction of Park Road, certainly not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm back, Chair. Sorry, I can just answer that. Yeah. So I think you were just asking about where tickets are checked. We any cars that are arriving, we will bring them into the field and we put them into holding lanes so that there's no backup on the road. So they'll come in and we put them into lanes, and then their vehicle registration is checked. It's not before they come into the field. If we happen to discover a car that's come in and hasn't got the right ticket, then we'll escort it off the field. But again, it's not the sort of event where you'd expect people to do that, and that wasn't our experience in the last couple of weeks.
Okay, fine. Now on the other side, on the egress, obviously they're coming round and they're much closer to the exit into Park Road. Park Road, yeah. I mean, my experience coming from West Middlesex Hospital from that end of Park Road is that the major problem is vehicles coming across the traffic lights on London Road and other ones coming from either Hounslow or from Brentford that are turning in. And what they're doing is blocking off the exit from Park Road into Twickenham Road. Now that can be pretty busy. So I think that would be where the blockage would be on the exit. I don't know if you've seen made any inspections of the volume.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Richard. I think, you know, we, under normal circumstances, if the sign park was operating in anything like its normal capacity, then the requirement to put a TTRO in and a traffic order, etc., that is what's required for when major events are put on would be required. But it's really, you know, this is a small number of vehicles that we're controlling on the exit. So, and there's a much smaller volume of vehicles turning into Park Road. So I think, you know, we have measured it, we've looked at those flows, and we're very comfortable that it's not going to create the impact that you would have if you were if the park was operating under normal circumstances, and it is just not doing that.
Okay. Do you have any anything put in place to actually register this? So I mean, if for instance your thoughts on the amount of traffic coming out proved wrong and that is causing major problems, is there anything that you've got in place to be able to look at that?
Yes, well, because we're going to have a traffic marshal at the end of the road monitoring the flow, he will be in radio contact with the marshals in the field, and until that backlog of vehicles that we've allowed out is cleared, we won't allow another set of vehicles out. And we will explain this very clearly to our visitors on a screen and during you know, before the egress, and we will explain why you are being held in the field is to avoid us blocking Park Road, and I'm sure they will understand.
Yep. Okay, that's all of my questions. Now, who else have we got? We don't have anybody else to ask any questions, do we? It's a bit different from a normal licensing panel. Sorry, Baljeet, is that you, Baljeet?
It is, Chair. We've got Stephen Maunders.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
yes,
I didn't know if it was appropriate for me to interject at this point.
Yeah, that was be my next stage, to go towards the other persons, which is, I think, Nisha Patel is not here because she's been in hospital over the weekend. So, Stephen, are you there?
Hello? Yep. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can't see you.
Unfortunately, my old council issue laptop, the camera's broken on it, so you're saved the my ugly mug, unfortunately. But there we go.
One that back.
With regards to, I've obviously had discussions with Neil prior to the panel, and he's forwarded me some of the details, which obviously he's gone over today. I think with regards to the traffic aspect of it, the marshal will, and also with regards to the way the event is scheduled, with an increase in screenings over the days, will actually allow that adjustment in terms of the traffic flow and the monitoring to see whether obviously more resources will be required, particularly when there are the Saturday and Sunday screenings, when you've got 4 screenings and a much shorter window between ingress and egress. So I think obviously having had you've got one on the Wednesday moving in, and on Tuesday, Wednesday with the one which will give a good gauge as to how you can manage the numbers going out, and as you say, whether you can accelerate numbers or reduce them accordingly. And then also with the ramping up in the numbers of the screenings will mean whether, because I think the Saturday, Sunday is going to be the big pinch point, when obviously you've got 4 screenings and a very smaller window to get everyone in and get everyone out, and obviously everything set up. And also with weekend traffic flows, you may find things at different times to be a challenge. So obviously with the marshalling that's put in, I think that aspect hits that. And if there's obviously the commitment there with regards to if further resources are required to be applied to that aspect of it, there's the potential for that to occur. Moving on to the noise thing, I think from the discussions we had and having looked at some of the other events, I'm fairly satisfied that sound isn't going to be a significant issue. Obviously, if things do arise as a consequence following the first performance, we can discuss with Neil and Brand Events with regards to what might be done to mitigate any issues. But to be having looked at the data and having spoken to people with regards to other similar events, that the noise is unlikely from the performance is unlikely to be an issue. Obviously, I think actually generally the noise from traffic and people has been more significant than noise from the actual entertainment itself.
Okay, right. Thank you, Stephen. Right, I'll go back to the councillors. Have you any questions of Stephen? Can I go to you first, Banda?
Could you turn your microphone on?
I guess I'd just like to get an idea of the number of stewards, what sort of capacity. I agree that during the earlier hours you won't need as many, but I do feel that in the evening you will get more customers, you will get more people coming in cars.
Question aimed at Bandana, because it's Stephen Maunders who made the objection that we're talking about in the moment.
Okay, so it's not obviously aimed at him. I'm talking to the organisers.
No. We've passed that.
Okay.
What you're doing now is you have the opportunity to ask questions of Simon Maunders, who made the objection in his presentation, which you've just.
For the moment, I have nothing. If I have something, I'll come back to you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Gabriella, do you have anything?
Nothing further, thank you.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything either, Stephen, looking at this quickly. Yeah, it seems to have been covered. Jake, do we have any other? I see we had, who's that, Graham?
Sorry, Councillor, just to interject, the only thing I forgot was obviously with regards to the letter and the going out to residents, and obviously the radius that was going to, right. And that there was and Neil had also spoken with regards to the inclusion of a contact number on that. So if residents were affected in any way, they had a means of obviously contacting directly with the event and raising that, as well as obviously having the ability to contact us in the enforcement team, and we can then liaise with Neil and the team regarding that aspect as well.
Yeah, I think that's been found to be favourable, having those phone numbers for the event that's direct, on previous ones we've had.
With all of these, I think communication is the key, and I think if people have got as much information as possible regarding what the event is, how long it's going to be, what the arrangements are with regards to transportation and traffic, and also if they have a point of contact and a means of raising any particular concerns or issues that they have. And I think if there's that dialogue there, then that tends to actually alleviate and head off the majority of the issues that may arise.
Okay. Darjeet, we've got nothing. I mean, I see that the police resolved their difficulties with the scene by agreeing that there would be 5 SIA personnel. So they moved down from their opening hand of 10.
Yes, Chair. From the correspondence in, so I'll just get it up in front of me, in Appendix D, it seems to show correspondence between Graham Edwards of the Metropolitan Police Service and Brand Events, which shows a discussion whereby it looks like they've agreed to 5 SIA security guards present at each event, which I believe the applicant has confirmed as well during his presentation.
Okay. So there are no other objectives, are there, Andy?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself there. No, from there were sort of the other objectives, but of those, it's only Mr. Maunders who has appeared here. I believe invites were given out to all other parties, so if they haven't decided to attend, then you've got the written representations in the agenda pack, so consideration still has to be given to the same and the appropriate weighting attached to the representations, but there's no one else I can see from the attendees list who is actually present and or hasn't spoken.
Can I don't mute yourself at this stage. The application from Nisha Patel, I have had some difficulty with, because what she seems to be saying is not really relevant, because TEN's license is not open to the sort of things that she's talking about, the 28 days and the opportunity for residents and members to talk, is it?
No, that's correct. For a 10, the statutory, the legislation and the statutory guidance limits the consultation and the time period for consultation both to the scope of people, namely to the police and the local authority with which has environmental health functions, and the consultation period is down to a small amount of time then compared to a normal licensing application. So it would not normally go out to ward councillors, local residents, and so on and so forth. But that's a statutory measure.
Yes, I think that irrespective of how we might feel personally about that, and I know it's but it does have people do have personal feelings about that. We're bound by the statutory guidelines on that. Yep.
That is correct, and so with the legislation, the guidance, the way it is, it would obviously be incumbent on the parties who are able to put in representations to put in such representations if they felt that was necessary.
Okay. Well, I've looked through. I can see nothing in there that would allow us to raise on there, unless I'm. Would you say the same?
In terms of when you say nothing in there that allow us to raise anything, I mean, with the representations, you can have a look. I think the representations, she's saying that it is from an environmental health office that those representations have come in from, and she mentions those matters of traffic and social distancing. So they're matters that the panel can take into account and give the appropriate weighting to. If it considers to be irrelevant, then obviously it can. That's the panel's decision. But
it might be appropriate just to interject to expedite the point on that with regards to I've actually spoken to Nishi, and I think the concerns that she had were picked up within my response, and obviously as the responsible authority, I had the opportunity to put that in, and that's why my objection was made. So in respect, I think hers is in some effect a duplication, and although, as you say, from process it's not necessarily appropriate because it should come via my team anyway.
That's fine, Stephen. Yeah, it's just I didn't want Nishi to be thinking that we ignored everything she'd said. So I really wanted to make sure that it was evident. Although
very wise councillor with Nishi, certainly. So
yeah, I don't like leaving things that are likely to come back and bite you afterwards. I think there's the only other thing on there, I think, was the internal traffic management plan, which we were looking for. I think it went to plan to traffic, didn't it? But they don't seem to have come back with anything particular that's not already in there. Yeah. Would you agree with that, sir?
I had a conversation with Christopher Deakins in traffic, and he had sight of all of the versions of the traffic plan. I think the version 3 was the one that he had most preference to, because that included the external marshalling. But obviously the version 3 that has been submitted as part of this, which it contains the internal marshalling within Zion Park, and obviously there is the additional commitment now with regards to the external marshalling and the capacity to deal with that should it become an issue over the course of the event.
Okay. Right. Fine. Then I think that I'm going to ask anybody if you want to recap on anything. So I'll go first to the applicant. I don't know if there's anything you wish to add on a query, but preferably not new material. So if you've got something that you'd like to emphasise or go over, then fine.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. No, I think I've explained what we're doing and hopefully satisfied some of the concerns that are raised, and look forward to being able to bring an event to Hounslow.
Right, fine. And same of my colleagues, Councillor Bandana, and have you anything to sum up on what we've already said?
I think my summation would just be I'd like to see a little bit more security and traffic management along Park Road in the evenings especially, and weekends, because I think that's when your heaviest traffic will be and the most number of cars and people will be. Just want to make sure ensure safety.
Sorry,
Richard, if I could just clarify on that, because I think it was a question that was asked earlier. So in addition to the 5 SIA security, we have over 18 staff on site who are parking vehicles, dealing with issues, and obviously during egress, once a lot of the food service etc. is done, they can be deployed and are deployed to the safe exiting of vehicles. And if we deem it necessary, we can put additional observers along Park Road. So there's a team of about 25 of us on site at any one time, all experience of having run the event. So hopefully will give you some peace of mind as to the level of staff that we have.
Okay.
If they can be deployed elsewhere, that's great.
Yeah. Gabriella, have you got anything that you'd like to sum up on?
No, I think it's fine. Just to reiterate, the cars are going to be off. Traffic management is going to be a lot lower than the park would normally expect on any other given day. I think my answers have been questioned. Thank you. My questions have been answered, rather.
Okay. Right, well, let's move on now. I think, Baljeet, we're probably in a position to adjourn at this stage, are we not? LG?
Yes, so just a delay in unmuting myself. I didn't know if Mr. Maunders had anything else he wanted to say as summing up. I believe he may have said everything, but seeing as the applicant summed up, I just thought I didn't know if Mr. Maunders wanted to say anything further in summing up.
No, I think everything's been covered pretty much throughout. The only thing I'd add is obviously with regards to contact and possibly just before setup, just to obviously for us to arrange a site visit. Obviously, if the event were to go ahead, so again we can just have a look again at the speaker system when we're on site there, just to confirm everything we've got with regards to that and establish all of our links for the course of the event should we need to have contact over the course of it. But beyond that, I think we've had a good dialogue, and I think most of all of the issues that have been raised have been addressed.
That's good. Okay then.
Yes, if that being the case, Chair, it's then unless the panel has any further questions or issues that they wish to raise, I would advise that the Chair makes the decision to adjourn this this hearing for a period of time. I don't know if you'd like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then for the panel to reconvene here at this online meeting. So just for the just to explain to other people, the panel will be leaving this particular meeting area to go off for a separate meeting where they'll deliberate and reach their decision, and then come back and rejoin this meeting. So if the people who are present could still be present, but or rejoin the meeting. Chair, I don't know if 15 minutes you think is sufficient, or if you'd like more time.
I think if we say, for instance, that we should be able to make our decision within the 15 minutes, if that proves difficult, then we can come back. We can communicate via Adrian, I think, who can then pass a message to those here that there's a delay, if that's the case. But experience has said we've been able to get these within the 15 minutes.
Okay, very well then. In that case, Chair, I've got on my computer the time of 16:17 showing. So if we say that the panel will aim to get back at 16:32, if that's agreed, then I invite. Oh, sorry, Councillor
Audrey, I was just going to say, given technology and switching and finding links and all that kind of stuff, could we have a little bit longer?
Of course.
Just to make sure that we're able to connect properly.
Okay, I was going to say that to run through the connection process, but I'm not getting, and I don't know whether it's my mouse run out of power or something, but I'm not picking up the, got it. So we have to log off from this session. So the white telephone on the red square to the right hand side would log you off, and then you would go into, has somebody already done that?
It looks like Councillor Chopra may have already left.
Oh,
so
right.
I think if we...
I was about to tell her how you get into the other.
It looks like she's way ahead of you. Shall we say 20 minutes then? So I've got 16:18. So we say, Chair, if I'd invite you to sort of come back in at 16:40.
Oh, right, we thought we'd lost you.
I was only hovering over it and it just disappeared. I was like, I didn't even click it.
That's what happens when people hover.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was trying to say is that this is two parts. One, you have to log out from this session and then go back in, and you will see the email you had that invited you. There's a second email that says you're invited to the private session.
A decision panel session, yeah.
Yeah, so now what we're going to do, we're going to log out by pressing firmly over the red button, not hovering, and I will see you in the other room.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
20 minutes then.
Yeah.
20 minutes, so 16:40.
Great,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So you all right with that process, Gabriella? Out. Yep, she's gone. That just leaves me now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. Okay, Bandoner's in. I'm in.
Hello, I'm here.
Right, I can't. Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay. Right, is everybody else there? Where's Bill? Is Bill still with us?
Yeah, I think we're all here.
Okay. Right. So if I can now just bring us back to the purpose of the meeting. All three members of the panel have been present during the adjournment to the meeting room, and have been. We took part in the discussion and taken part in the decision, and the decision is that we accept the application that has been made by. I forget what. I'll get there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there. Anyway,
Drive and dine.
that's it. Drive and dine. Yeah, that was what I was looking for. Anyway, the only thing that we mentioned on there is, as I think we mentioned at the tail end of our discussions, that what we would like to see is that there is communication between our enforcement people and Drive and Dine. So if Trevor is able to keep in touch, so if there is any problems, they can be dealt with swiftly and in a way that means that we don't get any feedback coming back. So that's really the only proviso that we put over the top of it all. You know, other than that, we're fine.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you very much. Hooray! Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll have the engagement that we've already had to this point with Neil, and hopefully they'll have a successful event.
That's great. Can I also thank you to all of you who've taken part in this meeting. Thanks very much. It's not always the most easiest thing, as when we're meeting, we're actually looking across the table in a room. So it always makes my job easier when there's members that are conversant with what's going on and aid in a bit. So thank you all very much for your help, and I wish you all a pleasant evening.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.